Yo, what's shaking, everybody? We're back. It's another edition of the Monday Overreaction show. I'm Geoff Ketchum, joined by Anwar Richardson. Do us a solid. Click that little bell. Subscribe to the channel. We do these on every single Monday during the football season and outside of the football season. Today, we're overreacting to Steve Sarkisian's press conference. He wrapped up what ended up being a very solid 38-18 win over Louisiana. Anwar, I don't know. I have an overreaction, I suppose, but I want to lead off with you. Anything stand out today worthy of overreacting to?
Can we not bury the lead? Can we just go to something real quick? Because I got a lot of DMs over the weekend. Are you okay? Can we start there? I got a lot of DMs from people asking about you over the weekend. I
mean, I got a little sweat going on right now. My voice doesn't feel powerful, but I'll make it. I'm not in bed, so it's baby steps. And look, the show must go on. I already felt bad enough about not being involved in the show. Let me tell you what happened, man. When the game ended by the time we got to the fourth quarter on Saturday, I just wanted the thing to be over so bad. Mm-hmm. I had my article when the Longhorns win by a lot, you can get a lot of it done early.
Yeah.
And I almost hit submit with 6 minutes to go. And instant analysis before it was even time to be instant analysis. No, we'll see. Ask me when we're done after this video. If I still have any steam left, we'll go from there. Yes, okay. I have been a little under the weather. Thankfully, nothing COVID related as of yet. I got a negative, but I bought like a gang of COVID tests. So I'll probably take one tomorrow just to see if it's still negative. But
yeah,
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm hanging in there. Now give me some overreactions, because I do have an overreaction.
Okay, I don't have a great overreaction. So, so why don't we start with you? Because my reactions are, Ketch, I don't know how to react to Texas handling their business against a ranked opponent as easily as they did. Like that's a hard react. We didn't hear, this doesn't happen often, Ketch. This is not what we've done. This is not the Mondays that we're used to. It's funny. I was thinking before I would go in and I asked some questions, but I was trying to think, what the hell am I going to ask? Like everything went really well. Like usually we're so used to asking about all the things that didn't go well. It's kind of odd to ask about the things that did go well and did go good. So give me what your overreaction is.
My overreaction is that's what it looks like when a Texas football program is, and I don't mean the game itself. I mean the press conference. Sark showed up. He did 30 minutes worth of questions. There's very little to talk about. There are no bullet point headlines. I don't know what is I don't know what's on the front page tomorrow for a reaction to that. And that's what it looks like when the football program's doing what it's supposed to do. Texas football team wins.
Yeah.
And this disproves the idea that all the media wants to do is cause trouble and stir things up. There wasn't anything to stir up today. The football program handled his business. And what happened on Monday was that the media showed up and asked a bunch of benign questions to Steve Sarkisian, and he answered them. And that's how it goes. That's how it goes for good programs. Nick Saban rarely, once a year, he'll do something that's interesting in a press conference. But his press conferences are boring. I bet Dabo's are boring, because when the team wins, you don't end up asking questions that cause people to get upset. And, his team by and large played really well. And I thought what we saw today was a coach the Monday after a good, solid victory, acting like a coach who's 1-0 and really didn't have a lot of things to be on edge about.
He really didn't. And, even when, you thought, all right, but maybe about the offensive line, and how they did in pass pro. And then he went into like an explanation as to some of that was on his tight ends more so than it was on the O-line. At that point, you're right. Everything was just about Bijan and Hudson and the guys on defense and Brockermeyer and how well he looked and, getting ready for Arkansas in a hostile environment. But there's almost this cool collective manner where we didn't go, we're used to the show on Mondays, right? We're used to everyone reacting to winning is hard, right? That's what you're used to overreacting. Tom said winning is hard again, right? And then the other overreactions as related to the coaches. But yeah, Ketch, it was literally, you went out, you handled your business, you looked at the film, everyone's looking good, no real injuries, getting ready, for Arkansas this upcoming weekend. Hudson looked good. I mean, overall, is this what the other side is like, Ketch? Like, is this what it's like?
I think that this is what it's, I don't know that enough credit, or I don't know what the right word is, but emphasis. Mm-hmm. We're so used to it being stressful around here all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times either the seasons have started off with losses, or they've started off with games that hinted that losses were coming. And in reality, I think the thing that stood out the most about Saturday, on a day when there was a lot of things that kind of stood out, they did make winning look pretty easy. And if you want to know if what bodes what best for this season and for this team going into the season, it's being able to make games that you're supposed to win look easy. It's about it not needing to go to the fourth quarter. It's about being able to get your backup quarterback into the game late in the third quarter because you can, because there's no risk whatsoever to what will happen. I thought it was a game of control on defense, control on offense, control on special teams. It was a performance where I know Sarkeesian and his coaches will be able to go back on film and be able to point to things they can do better. But by and large, this was a team that I bet when he went into the locker room after the game was over on Saturday, he said things like, I told you guys that the hardest things you would face would be the things you go against in practice. Played that way out on the field. I told you guys if you just do your job and do the basics and do your stuff well, everything's going to be fine. And it proved out to be the case on Saturday. It was a game that had very few pressure points applied to the Longhorns. Now, there's some good news and bad news to that. The good news is that they can do all of that. The bad news is, and right, you have to find something negative in everything. We still haven't seen this team stressed a lot. So until we see it stressed, and maybe that happens on Saturday, maybe it takes till the TCU game to get to that point. There will get to be a point in this season when the team feels pressure. And I don't just mean Hudson Card. I mean all over the field. How it responds to that will go a long way towards deciding. Again, we talk about 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. This looked like a 9-win type of team on Saturday with the upside of being even better. But we've got to see what it looks like when they really get punched in the mouth. And as it turns out, Louisiana wasn't really capable of giving them a good, hard punch in the mouth. And that should be the standard. In future games, when they play teams of lesser talent, I think we can start to build some expectations that Texas will handle its business and it won't fool around and get caught up in a 4-quarter game when it doesn't necessarily have to.
No, and Ketch, I would build off of that because I mean that's what has happened, right? And I don't know, it's such a tricky conversation because I'm not a huge fan of shitting on other people and coaches who have left. So it's kind of a tough part, but we haven't seen Texas just go out and handle their business. Like the typical Texas team would have got up on Louisiana and then found a way to let them back in. That's just what we've seen. And that's what we know. And what we saw was a team that got up on Louisiana and just said, okay, we're going to just keep doing this and you're not going to stop us. And we're better than you. We're Texas. We're going to flex and we're going to make sure, to your point, by the time we get to the third quarter, we're going to throw in our backup quarterback. And guess what? He's going to be pretty good as well. And we're going to go ahead and flex on you. And I'll get back to the backup quarterback thing because I thought he had a really interesting thing with like the Tua and Jalen Hurts and how he learned from Saban, the importance of playing those guys because you just might need them in the future. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And really from an overreaction standpoint, it's funny you said it because I wrote it down as we were talking. As a person who predicted 8, I want to see what happens against Arkansas. And I want to see how they handle this against the road. But if this team that we saw this past Saturday is kind of like the same team we see this upcoming week, which I think we know Sarkeesian is going to play. He loves Bijan. He's going to find a way to get that guy ball in space. He likes Jordan Whittington. He's going to find ways to get that guy motion, different sets, all these type of things. If he goes out and has a success against Arkansas that they should, then I think all of a sudden you can start adjusting your expectations of what the season looks like. I think your 9 wins starts looking like potentially 10. And me, I'd probably have to jump from 8 on. Now, that's for overreaction, right? And I know you shouldn't overreact on for one game, but it's Overreaction Monday. So that's what we do. We can overreact. And if he does it again against Arkansas, yes, Anwar Richardson, Mr. PTSD himself, Mr. sitting in the corner, with a blanket. You're scared to come out because of all the things that as battered reported syndrome that I've gone through. I'd be able to say, man, Ketch, you look rough. But I'd be able to say, God, it's we can't do a long show, man. It's like, you're like, whoo, Lord. He's like, just stop talking so we can get the show over with.
All right, we're good.
Okay, you sure?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Are you staying hydrated? Okay, drink more of that.
Drink all the Gatorade. Out of Gatorade. Now I'm just down the bottled water.
Yeah. Too bad you don't have anyone that lives in your house or lives close to you to go get it for you. Anyway, I'm saying this looks like a team based off of, because last time I say Ketch, based off of what we saw in the openers with the other Big 12 teams, Oklahoma struggling against Tulsa, Iowa State, which seemingly Ketch does no preparation for season openers. Like, I don't know what Matt Campbell does, but this is year 2 where they have looked like shit.
Hard time with?
Huh?
Iowa State has a hard time with games against in-state opponents.
Yeah.
Like they've never played against Iowa well. And that is going to be one of the biggest games of the weekend coming up. And in a weird way, I maybe struggling to Northern Iowa. Maybe they were looking ahead. Like, I don't know what that was with Iowa State, but it's like they've got a Big 12 game, and then they've got a game against non-Big 12 teams from their own state when, I don't know. I watched some of they were not very good. Northern Iowa's not terrible. But it did make me think of last year's game against Louisiana. And it's like, what's up with that team that September is such a weird thing for them?
It's crazy.
Because they were not good on Saturday.
No. And now maybe they do what they did last year and they get better as the year goes along. But I don't know what Matt Campbell's doing from a season opener perspective. Like, I don't know what he's showing them. He's like watching Netflix or something like.
He needs to stop scheduling. He needs to start I was going to say don't schedule anybody, but it's not like Northern Iowa's a Power 5 team.
I mean, that was bad.
May I suggest a team from the state of New Mexico?
That might be their best choice.
I'm just throwing that out there. Like, maybe stay away from teams. I don't know.
But Ketch, if you're Texas. If you're a Texas fan, you have optimism, where I think if you're Iowa State fan, you have a little bit of concern. And if you're an Oklahoma fan, and you struggle against Tulsa, I know you feel like, all right, maybe that's a one-off, but you can't be that sold on your team with their ranking struggling against Tulsa to start the season.
No. And I'm going to go back to say something completely different that has nothing to do with Iowa State or any other Big 12 teams. It's a thought I have on Texas that I better get out of my head before I pass out in the video. My overreaction could be, I might faint on this before it's all said and done. There were two things about Texas that really stood out to me, and it goes back to the concept of control. On the defensive side of the ball, I didn't think we saw a lot of playmaking, and I say that with respect to the sacks because they ended up 7 of them, and it felt like their offensive line caved in the second half. But I don't know that we watched that game and came, oh my God, the pass rushers from Texas. I didn't think there was a lot of playmaking, but the defense tackled well, was always in the right place. They controlled the game. And so when I say that I didn't see a lot of playmaking on defense, I don't necessarily mean that as a slap in the face because they only gave up 18 points. I think the coaches will tell them the next step for them is to force turnovers, to get your hands on the ball and intercept it, strip sacks, things like that. But they played excellent base defense. And it was just more than Louisiana could handle. They just were out personneled on the defensive side of the ball. I thought the defensive line played a really good controlled game, allowed the linebackers to roam and make plays. I thought when we didn't mention Deshaun Jameson or Joshua Thompson's name, pretty much all game long, that's an indication that your cornerbacks played pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, pass interference number 9, pass interference number 5, or you get to know the back of their jersey numbers because they're chasing somebody into the end zone. We didn't really see any of that. In fact, I thought the safety play was okay. It was a very controlled game on the defensive side of the ball. And considering it always has felt like a fire drill of kindergartners in a lot of opening games when we watched the Texas defense, I thought it was a really well done, well-coached job. And then I think on the offensive side of the ball, Hudson Card's calmness and overall control of the offense was really surprising. Even when I did my prediction on Friday, the score prediction, I put in there, he'll have a mistake. You got to give Hudson Card a mistake. He'll make one, but I think my thought was that he would compensate with really good play. He didn't come close to really turning the ball over. The biggest nitpick I think you could make of Hudson Card from Saturday was that when he took that one big sack, he didn't sense the pressure the way you'll want him to sense the pressure and avoid that play as his season and career goes on. But I thought he did a really good job of taking care of the football. And when we talk about arm talent, it's hard a lot of times for there wasn't one throw that he made on Saturday that would make you go, oh my God, I've never seen that before. But I'll tell you real quickly the difference between him and Sam Ehlinger, and then we can wrap it up if we want to. There was the play, he threw a ball, and I'm putting it inside of an article that I'm writing, a modified 10 thoughts from the weekend, if you will. But he threw a ball across the middle to Jordan Whittington. It was the one where Whittington caught it and made a guy miss, made a big long gain in the open field. The difference between Hudson Card and Sam Ehlinger is that when Hudson Card threw that ball, it got there fast. And when Whittington caught it, he legitimately had 2 yards of separation between him and the next closest defender. Another quarterback, and I'll say Sam. If Sam makes that exact same read and that exact same throw, when he throws it, that defender's probably on Whittington within a yard instead of 2 yards. And in a game of very thin margins, being able to have a guy like Jordan Whittington have 2 yards of space to make an upfield move, to make a move, to shake guys down in space versus defenders being on top of them almost as soon as they catch it. I mean, that's how your playmakers, that's how the 10-yard throws turn into 70-yard gains. And it's a very subtle thing, but boy, it was hard not to notice that when Hudson Card throws the football, it gets there fast. And in this instance, when he's getting the ball to his receivers, he's really giving them an opportunity to do things with the ball after they catch it. Maybe some of that is scheme. Maybe you got to give some credit to Sark, but there's a snap that's on his balls that is a little bit different than a guy who doesn't quite have that arm. And the difference comes, what it does is it opens up space as opposed to narrowing the space. And it was interesting to watch a guy like Jordan Whittington play where the space opened up for him. What we learned about Jordan Whittington on Saturday that I don't know we've ever seen in his career up until this point. Get that guy in space. Get him in space. You get him in space, he's going to make plays happen. He's a hell of a lot better when he's got room to do things than when guys are draped all over him when the ball arrives.
I mean, Ketch, and that's what Sarkeesian does from a game planning perspective. That's the difference. Previously we've heard about, well, we're going to take what the defense gives us. And what we're hearing now is, well, we're just going to do what we do. And we're going to play our best guys, and we're going to run our best plays, and we're going to attack your weaknesses, and you're going to have to stop us. And that's what they're saying. It's Bijan Robinson, it's his show. And it's saying, all right, not only we're going to get Bijan in motion, we're going to get Bijan in space. We're going to do a wheel route with Bijan. We're going to make sure that you got to beat Bijan. You got to make sure you got to beat Jordan Whittington to a certain degree. It's funny, we joked about it last week, but how we talked about Cade Brewer shakes off everybody. I thought Hudson's best pass was the touchdown pass to Cade Brewer with two guys on him. I mean, double team. That he gets it in the narrowest of windows possible. It's a good catch, but he put it exactly where it could be caught. And, I think Hudson has to improve a little bit on his deep ball. I've kind of said that, throughout the offseason. And even he said that today when we interviewed him as we're talking on Monday. He said that he's got to put a little bit more air on his deep balls. But this is week one. See, I think to me, Ketch, the most encouraging thing for a Texas fan is these are the things we're talking about in week one. And if you're imagining that this team is going to improve as the season goes along and get better after the first quarter, so I mean, like the first 4 games, if you're saying like this might be the worst you ever see this Texas team be, and then it's going to improve, then as a Texas fan, you got to be encouraged. To your point to Hudson, I thought there might be some freshman moments at some point. It's a first start. Like you factor that into your math and say, okay, he might have a turnover of some sort. Maybe there's a fumble. Maybe there's an interception. And look, he got hit a couple of times. He didn't fumble. The balls that he threw, Catch, I felt like it was either his receiver is going to catch it, it's going to be incomplete. But overall, I thought he played a really solid game. So, and the yak that we're talking about is from there as far as Jordan Whittington. It's interesting that Jordan Whittington, almost looked like he was back in high school at times, but just being able to get that and be explosive and shake. And I think some of that has to do with what you're seeing on offense too, like just knowing that they're comfortable, that it's working, right? They believe in Sark and what he's able to do. They believe in the quarterback, like all those things gives him a little bit of extra juice. So I think if you're a Longhorn fan, you got to walk away saying, man, that good victory in hell. This is what we look like in week one in Sark's first game. Well, what are we looking? What does it look like in week 10? Is it better? Are we underselling? I don't know. But it's Overreaction Monday, and then we have the opportunity to do that, which is overreact. And by the way, Ketch, I've said this before, but I'll say it one more time. And I'll close it on this. If Texas goes out and they do defeat Arkansas this week, they have Rice the following week. We can obviously assume that would be a win. Texas would be Texas would start off the season Texas would start the season 3-0 for the first time since 2012. And if Sark is able to check that box, and that's what you wrote about on Saturday, checking boxes. If he can check that box this quickly, boy, I know I talked to a lot of people on Saturday and higher uppers that were extremely happy with the debut. And he will definitely keep the good times rolling if he has that continued success.
Well, you know who predicted a 3-0 start? This guy, Mr. Negativity. So
yeah.
I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not yet. I'm surprised by the control. Saturday in Fayetteville, just another piece of sample size, another piece of data that will give us an idea of what this team is made of. And we'll have content all week long here on the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. Hit that bell, subscribe, like, leave comments in the comments section. We'll have you covered from front to back. And as long as like this thing with me doesn't stay, I'll personally be involved in a post-game show on Saturday. We'll see. No promises made. I thought I was going to be on the last one, and then that didn't happen. But for today, I made it. So for myself and Anwar Richardson, thanks for watching. We really do appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Later.